What is up, everybody? We are back here at King Film Sports for the NFL mid-season predictions. This is one of my favorite videos to do each year because obviously we do the NFL predictions season long before the season starts, giving you my regular season thoughts and then also my playoff predictions for how I think the season will unfold there. Then we get through 9 weeks of action here, can kind of see how these teams are performing, how the playoff picture is taking form, and then prognosticate the next 9 weeks here, giving you my thoughts for the NFC and AFC playoff brackets, how I think they will take shape. So we started out here with the NFC and the Lions atop the conference here at 7-1, looking like a juggernaut after they took down the Packers in Lambeau Field there. Then at the number 2 spot, you've got the Commanders right now. What a story for them. 7-2 with Jaden Daniels and that team. And not only a legit shot for the NFC East title, but then also potentially the 1 seed as we go down the stretch here. Then Atlanta Falcons at 6-3 here. Atop the NFC South, it was looking like it was going to be a 3-horse race between them, the Saints and the Bucs early, but they have really pulled away thus far. They have a tough game in New Orleans this week, but if they can win that, I mean, they basically win this division as they've beaten Tampa twice, they've beaten the Saints already once, and they've already beaten the Panthers, so it could potentially go undefeated in the division there. Then atop the NFC West, you have the Arizona Cardinals. I don't know what their win total was. I'm guessing it was around 5.5, and they're already to 5 wins here. Just an incredible story. We'll see if they can keep that up there, but a very tight NFC West race as all of the teams are within a game. Then at the wild card spot, you've got the Minnesota Vikings at 6-2, and they were one of the hot stories of the season, coming out at 5-0, then lost a couple games, get right against the Colts. Then the Eagles 6-2, very strong there, and the Packers at 6-3 after dropping that game to the Lions. So a very strong playoff field that it takes 6-3 to get a wild card spot. And then you have a few other frisky teams hanging out. We have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers who are playing tonight in Kansas City. Very tough game there, and they've been battered with some injuries. Then you've got the Chicago Bears, disappointing couple of losses these last 2 weeks on the road for them there. The Niners been banged up early and have blown some big games. Then you have the Rams at 4-4, look to be getting right after they started out 1-4, 3-game winning streak here with Puka and Cooper Kupp coming back. Young defensive players taking shape. And then you've got the Seahawks, started out 3-0, but unfortunately for them, lost 4 of their last 5. So now I will be giving you my NFC playoff thoughts. And we started out here, I have the Lions at 13-4, getting the number 1 seed. I'm not convinced they're this juggernaut that is unbeatable, and you'll see their schedule here. It actually makes sense for them to lose 3 or potentially even more games, but I'm going to cap it at 3. You see they have this Texans Sunday Night Football game. That one could be potentially close. Then you got a couple AFC South teams, Jags and Colts. Then on Thanksgiving short week, you have a frisky Bears team. Maybe that defense can give Goff trouble. They also play the Bears again December 22nd. In between those games, you have the Packers at home on another Thursday night game and the Bills at home as well. And then you go at 49ers in week 17 and then host Minnesota in week 18. And I really put a lot of stress on that Niners game because if the Niners are able to turn it around there, then that could potentially be for the number 1 seed there. If Detroit wins that, they could lock up not only their division, but the number 1 seed in first round bye. But if they lose that game, then potentially you're looking at a Minnesota game in week 18 that could have NFC North title implications, could be a division championship there. We'll see what Minnesota does. But ultimately, the Lions atop the conference right now look to be the class of the conference. So we'll see if they can hold on to that number 1 seed there. Then at number 2, I have the Niners at 11-6. I know this might be a little shocking because as we went through the playoff picture, Niners are currently sitting like 10th or 11th in the conference right now, but is what it is with those injuries. They will get Christian McCaffrey back after this bye week. They will get Dre Greenlaw back as well and a couple other pieces. And really, you look at 2 of the losses, they just had no business losing to the Cardinals or the Rams, blew huge fourth quarter leads in both of those games. So we'll see if they can get right. You look at the schedule here at Tampa off of the bye, and Tampa will be playing after the short week in this Monday night game in Kansas City. Then you have the Seahawks at home, and then these 2 back-to-back games, Packers and Bills. We'll see if they can win both of those, then they might have a shot at the 1 seed. If they lose both, then they'll just struggle to win the NFC West, probably split those there. Then you've got the Bears and then the Rams on a short week. That one could be huge for the NFC West title, as the Rams obviously beat the Niners in week 3 earlier this season, so Niners will want to win that game. Then cross-country trip against Miami, not going to be easy. And then the aforementioned Monday night game against the Lions, that one will be huge. And then we'll gauge the implications of that Cardinals game. Will they already have the NFC West division locked up? We will see there. Next, we get to the 3 and 4 seeds. I've got the Eagles and Falcons here. You look at the Eagles here, their schedule is not particularly easy down the stretch. They have a lot of these divisional games. You see at Cowboys here this week. We'll see how that takes shape. And then the Thursday night game, the all-important one against this Commanders team. The Commanders have played them tough the last couple of years, even though Washington hasn't been that good of a team. Then you go at Rams, at Ravens, Panthers at home, that's a layup. Then a Keystone State battle against the Steelers, and then the Commanders again, then Cowboys and Giants. So ultimately, I see them picking up 4 losses here. I do think that they're slightly overvalued here. There's just something off about this team, whether it's Sirianni's coaching or Jalen Hurts not living up to the billing there, and I do think that their defense can get got. So I see a little bit of regression after the 6-2 start, but ultimately I do think they wrap up the NFC East. I think they're slightly better than the Commanders in the long haul there. And then the Falcons, not much to be said here. Maybe they pick up some steam and can push to the 3 or 2 line, but I just don't see that out of them there. I think their schedule gets a little bit tougher after these divisional games, and I do not think that that defense will hold up, and I think that that offense is a little overvalued right now, but I do think it's good enough to win that NFC South division. Then we do get to the wild card teams here, and we started out with the Vikings. I've got them going 11-6 after the strong 6-2 start, seeing a bit of regression here. Even though their next 2 games against the Jags and the Titans, both on the road, are slightly easy, I just see that they could get picked off in one of those games. And then you see a 3rd straight road game at Chicago. That's just a really tough spot there outdoors, so we'll see how that one goes. Then Cardinals, Falcons, Bears, and then the Seahawks, Packers, and then that all-important Lions game. I really do think that those last 2 games, Packers at home and Lions on the road, will be huge. Maybe if they win both of those games, they can win the division and push for the number 1 seed. But ultimately, I do see them staying at the 5 line, as I just think that the Lions are a better team at this point, but still pretty strong there at 11-6, so we'll see what happens. Then at the number 6 spot, I've got the Washington Commanders at 11-6 here, and this one might be perceived as a disappointing finish, as they're currently 7-2 right now, so just 4-4 over the last 8 games. But you look at this schedule, and ultimately, I do think that they're slightly overvalued. I think Jaden Daniels will regress a little bit, and I don't think that defense is too good. So we'll see. I think they probably split against the Eagles. They've got the Steelers game this week at home, which is huge. And then they play the Cowboys twice here. I mean, will the Cowboys completely fold is the ongoing question here, because the Eagles also play the Cowboys twice. So we'll see if Dallas can stand back up there. Then some of these other games aren't too difficult there. It really just comes down to those divisional battles, even after they swept the Giants there. And then finally, we get to the 7 spot where we have the Packers at 10-7 here. Very tough loss against the Lions at home. They really needed that if they wanted to compete for the division, but it's still alive here, even though they did lose to Minnesota at home earlier as well. But much needed bye week. Jordan Love, hopefully he gets healthy again, and then a tough game at Chicago, then the Niners at home, Dolphins on Thanksgiving, and then that Thursday night game at Detroit, must win if they want to compete for the division. Then a tough game on Sunday Night Football, I believe, against the Seahawks. Then you've got the Saints at home on a Monday Night Football game. And then the 2-game stretch to end the season for them is that at Vikings game, and then the Bears at home potentially. That one against the Bears could be for the 7th seed, or maybe it matters for the division. We will see. But I ultimately do think that this Packers team is very good, and they have a very tough schedule here. So I see them finishing 4-4, but definitely making the playoffs there. And really with this NFC, there's a few teams that I left out, being the Cardinals, Rams, and Seahawks, but I ultimately do see a lot of infighting between them, cannibalization, and I cannot project one of those teams to get the 10 wins. I think they all end up around 8-9 or 9-8 there. I mean, we'll see if one of them can knock off the Niners here, but I do think that with the Niners getting healthier, it's just going to be a tough task there. Now, next we get to the AFC, and this one is also very intriguing. As you can see, the Chiefs have played 2 less games than the Bills, same amount of wins, but 0 losses, so we'll see how long they can keep that undefeated stretch up for. And they do play a big game later on this season at Buffalo, so that will be interesting. Maybe if the Bills win that and finish up hot, Chiefs regress a little, then we could see the Bills leapfrog them, get the number 1 seed in Buffalo there. Then at the number 3 spot, you've got the Steelers. Very strong start for them, 6-2, as they have Justin Fields and now Russell Wilson playing very good football for them there. And obviously you can always rely on that ground game and the defense, strong home field. But as we chronicled before the season, the second half is going to be much tougher than the first half. So good on them to wrap up all those close games, but we'll see if they can hold on to the AFC North and potentially a wild card there. Then you've got the Texans, very strong division lead for them right now, as the state of the AFC South is really bad, and they did win both of those games against the Colts, but there is really something off here, and then you lose Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs, so I don't think they'll just necessarily be a shoo-in for the playoffs right now, but given that division, it probably looks very likely there. Then you've got the Ravens at a strong 6-3 here. They will threaten the Steelers for that AFC North title, and we'll see if they can push up further here for potentially the 2 seed there if they pick up some steam. Then you've got the Chargers, very strong start for them there in Harbaugh's first season 5-3 there, and then likewise the Denver Broncos at 5-4. I had them finishing at 9 wins before the season. That was one of my hotter takes. Didn't have them necessarily making the playoffs, but I do think that they will perform pretty well there. I think Bo Nix has impressed some people in his rookie season. That defense has been decent thus far. Then you have the Colts at 4-5. I mean, just a rudderless team lacking direction so far this season. Will they play Richardson or Flacco going forward? I don't know. The schedule coming into the season wasn't difficult, but lost both of those games to Houston, which looms large right now. So it's going to be an uphill battle for them to make the playoffs. Then you have the Bengals, uphill battle for them as well after a very tough start. Seems like they always start out slow, and they have a huge game against Baltimore this week on Thursday Night Football. So if they want to potentially compete for the division, they have to win that game. They do play Pittsburgh twice coming up later on the season, so we'll see if they can win both of those games. That could be huge for the division and the wildcard race. And then finally here, I included the New York Jets. Though they are 3-6, I do think that they could get hot here and potentially get a wild card berth, but we will see. With 8 games left, they probably have to finish 6-2 or somewhere around there, 9-8, and get some help. But Aaron Rodgers has done that in the past, so we will see if the Jets can get hot there. So now we get to my playoff predictions, and I've got the Chiefs finishing 14-3. Maybe some people see this as conservative given they've already started 7-0, but I just think that it's likely that they pick up some losses here. Remember, Mahomes hasn't played that well this season, and that defense has really carried them through some very close games this year. They will have some divisional battles against this Broncos team and the Chargers later on, and then that November 17th matchup against the Bills in Buffalo. Buffalo has had their number in the regular season for what it's worth the last 3 regular seasons, so we will see there. And then some of these other games, you've got the Browns in Cleveland. That's not always easy in the middle of December. And then you've got the Texans at home and then at Pittsburgh on Christmas Day. We will see if they are able to win those big games down the stretch to secure the number 1 seed there, but they've got a bit of leeway thus far. So I have them losing 3 games and still maintaining the number 1 seed there. Then at number 2, I've got it holding with the Bills at 12-5 as they got a huge win against Miami, basically lock up their division last week, and now at Colts, and then the aforementioned Chiefs game, then a bye, and then you've got the Niners, very tough game, but at home in primetime there. Then you fly cross country against the Rams, and then a tough spot at Detroit next week, second straight road game, and then you've got the Patriots and Jets at home, and then the Patriots again. So very easy end of the season, the last 3 games. We'll see if they can finish up strong, potentially get that number 1 seed there. Then at the 3 and 4 lines, we've got the Ravens and the Texans here. I just see that the Ravens' schedule is too difficult for them to get a top 2 seed at this point, but I do see them claiming the AFC North crown here. Very tough game. I expect Cincinnati to compete in that one on Thursday night, potentially win it outright there. And then you've got 2 big games between the Ravens and Steelers. The Steelers have actually matched up pretty well with this Baltimore team in years past, so we will see in those games. Then you go cross country to play the Chargers on November 25th, and then Eagles at home. That's going to be a great game. Go to the Giants, and then at the Texans on Christmas Day, and then finish up with a Cleveland team that has already beaten them this season. So we will see. I do have them losing 3 of these games, but it's good enough to win the AFC North there. Then Houston, not much to be said. I do have them finishing 10-7, 4-4. Kind of like I predicted the Falcons. They do have a good division lead right now, but I'm not overly sold on what they're doing. So we'll see if they can get hot going down the stretch to get a top 3 seed. Then we get to the AFC wildcard picks, and I have the Chargers finishing 10-7 here and getting the 5 spot. I'm not overly sold on what they're doing so far this season with that offense, but I do think that it is good enough, and you see their schedule here. It's really not a murderer's row at all. You've got the Chargers, Bengals, and Ravens 3-game homestand. They will probably get 2 of those 3 games, and then you've got at Falcons, a very big one at the Chiefs, a primetime game there, then Bucks, Broncos, and Patriots and Raiders. So really not difficult at all. I even have them losing 4 of those games, but still getting the number 5 spot there. And then you get to the final 2 spots. I have the Bengals and Steelers getting these ones, and it will be difficult, as I've chronicled that Ravens game this week. If they fall to 4-6, it's going to be very slim odds for them, but I still like them to do it, even if that is the case, because they've got that at Chargers game. Then I do think that they could potentially sweep the Steelers in both of those last 2 games. You see that week 18 one in Pittsburgh. That one is going to be massive. And then you've got at Cowboys, at Titans, Browns at home, Broncos at home. So a lot of winnable games I see for this Bengals team, who I think will peak at the right time to claim that number 6 spot there. Then at the 7 line, I've got the Steelers holding on to get this 7th seed here and barely sneak into the playoffs. After a 6-2 start, this would be pretty disappointing, but you will see with their schedule, they have not played a division game yet this season, so I think that the day of reckoning is coming for this team. You started off with a tough game at Washington. Then the next 4 weeks after that, you've got Ravens, Browns, Bengals, Browns again, and then at Eagles, that's tough, and then at Baltimore. And then in the middle of that, you've got the Chiefs on Christmas, and then the Bengals in Week 18. So I don't think that they'll completely fold, but just such a tough schedule here. I can only see them getting 3 wins in these last few games here. So we'll see if they can do better than that. Maybe they win a lot more of these division games than I'm expecting, and they can hold on to the AFC North. But as of now, that is just how I see it playing out. So with all that being said, let me know what you guys think for the NFC and AFC playoff predictions. How do you think it will unfold in these next 9 weeks? Let me know in the comments down below what you disagreed with my picks. As always, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one.